Okay, we're live a few minutes late. Looks like we're about 3 minutes late. 3 minutes late on the live stream. So hopefully that's acceptable. I did my best, folks. I always struggle to get these shows started on time. I'll have a client call and this and that will delay me. I do know what time it is, but unfortunately that is an issue. Okay, Derek is in the house. Are we live here? And he was there at 5:01, so he was a couple minutes early, so hopefully he's still in the house. And 9 folks have popped in so far, so let me know in the chat if we've got breaking news. Archie got a Seiko. Wow, well now that's interesting. That is very interesting. So it's a casual Friday here. I'm wearing a Gitman Brothers shirt, one of my favorite manufacturers that I think this was made in Pennsylvania. You guys can check out Gitman Brothers shirts. Carlos says, hello from Panama. I should be now in LA, but I canceled my trip. Have you canceled your entire trip so we won't see you in April? Oh, please tell me that's not true. Please tell me that's not true, Carlos. Carlos the man. Kevin is in the house, and we're going to talk about some of these issues. We're going to talk about everybody being in a state of mass hysteria and panic worldwide. We're going to talk about that. There's no panic on this channel. Everything's under control on this channel. So if you want to be under control, you came to the right place. Let me get a little sip of H2O. And I have the 005 Stunner on the bench. The 005 Stunner is on the bench, and the 231 is on my wrist, and I've actually got the extension out one little click here on the bracelet because it's a warm day today. And I have not yet adjusted my micro adjustments. I'm going to adjust it one click here in another week or so when I'm sure that the warm weather is totally upon us. And I'll have the summer adjustment going on the 231 Stunner. LAX is Coronavirus City. Okay, there you go. It's spreading. Here's the thing. The vast majority of the people that get the virus will, basically have a cold, and then they'll recover and they'll be fine. The vast majority. And those of you that are challenged as far as your immune system goes, that could be a problem. And we're going to talk about personal responsibility. We're going to talk about preparation. We're going to talk about some things that people should be doing, should have done, and obviously a lot of people have not done. So we're going to talk about that a little bit on the show. David Williams is in the house. Carlos, not yet the DC one, but it's possibly, given the circumstances, I will take a decision at that time. There we go. Okay. So hopefully Carlos will come, because we will be fine. This is a coronavirus-free zone here, and the Little Treasury Jewelers is coronavirus-free as well. So there you go. That's how that works. Hi from LA. Kyle in the house. Carlos, you should have come out. No issues here. A friend of mine just got back from Thailand, had no problems getting through customs at LAX. All right, folks, we're going to get right into it here. We're going to talk about competitive options. We're going to talk about a Patek Philippe. But before I do that, I'm going to get into a couple of comments on the previous video, because I could have added these.
Hi, I'm Tim.
Let me
Welcome
stop
to our
this
channel.
video
Thanks.
from playing. I could have added these
That's
to
not what I do. I usually
stop
buy and
that
hold,
from playing, because you're probably hearing that. Okay. So on my previous show, yesterday's show, I had some comments that I'm going to go over here real quick, hopefully. And we're going to dive deep real quick into a few of these subjects. So this was a good comment. Craig, great broadcast. I think we need a half an hour emergency broadcast every night from you over this period. Market updates as well. There you go, as well as Watch Talk. And I responded I said I'll do my best, but it's not easy. I do have a day job. Now, if I get the SBGY002, you can count on several produced videos as well as many live streams, blah, blah, blah. In other words, if I get the gold stunner, I'll have to do some content on that, right? Okay, so here's one of the comments. How's your crypto doing, Craig? Down 50% overnight. Should have bought more Rolexes and not those worthless GSs. There's a trollish comment. Okay, so let me see what my reply was. My reply was, for those who have been in Bitcoin for years, this is normal. I buy the dips, buy and hold, and then I give a link to on my page. So we're going to talk about Johnny's comment there, and we're going to get through these here real quick. And here, Dub Rowe, he's trolling a little bit. He says, way to turn your 25,000 in Bitcoin into 12,500 in less than 2 weeks. And I responded, I said, I'm not selling. I'm buying more at about 3,500. I'm in for the long haul. And then David Williams says, does not mean it will stay at 12.5. Have to think long term here. And then I responded to David. I said, the youngsters these days were never taught about long-term thinking. I blame the public school system. And then Johnny says, try 24 hours. And then here's Dub Rowe back in. Of course, these are probably fake names, right? And he doesn't even have he's got a generic icon, right? So I didn't even have his picture there. But anyway. And then he says, the David Williams says, I trade for a living. I'm well aware of long-term thinking. Pontificating about market timing as if he has all the answers is what makes me laugh. Yeah, right, David. He trades for a living. That's probably why he's broke, and that's what I said. I said trading is a good way to stay broke. That's probably why he is broke. And then he says, 35 years in the industry, anything but broke. Thanks for your concern, though. Yeah, right, Dub. You're just rolling in money in your mom's basement. So I replied, says the guy with the generic icon, I'll be talking about your silly comments later on today's show. And then Dub Rowe, Market Guru, Bitcoin Craig, better than Cornelius Lies. Okay. And then he says, regarding the 002 stunner, that watch will still be in the case and not on your wrist, guaranteed. And then I responded to him. I said, either way, we'll talk about it. Time will tell the tale. I just hope the shipment isn't delayed. Okay, so let's get into all those real quick. First of all, let me play a video. A little bit of a video. Let me see if I can find the correct one. This is from June 26, 2017. Okay, June 26, 2017, the one I'm going to play here. Give me a second, put my headphones on so that I can hear it, so I can comment on it. Okay, so we're going to play this little video here. Again, remember the date, June 26, 2017.
Now, you would probably suggest that when you buy Bitcoins, you're probably doing it for a long-term investment?
Yes, it is a long-term investment. I do not advise people to trade it, to flip it, because you start to worry yourself to death about it. Like, oh, the price, just because the price is always changing. This is something you've got to put in. Right now, let's say it's $2,600 for one Bitcoin.
All right, let me pause right there. So it was $2,600 on June 26, 2017 when this gentleman was talking, the Bitcoin Meister, Adam Meister. Now let's keep listening.
You've got to think to yourself, I know this is going to be worth more in the future. I know this is going to be worth more in the year 2020. I am not going to touch it until 2020. And so even if it goes down to $2,100 tomorrow, you'll be like, that's fine, because I know in the year 2020, it's going to be worth more. So you've got to think long-term when it comes to Bitcoin, or else you're going to panic sell, and there's going to be a lot of happy people to buy up your Bitcoin for cheap. There have been people that have panicked for various reasons and greatly regret it now, because it went down from 1,200 to 1,000. They're like, oh, I better sell now at 1,000, and then all of a sudden it went back up to 1,500, never went back down to 1,000 again. So they feel really bad now.
And you went up to a high, what, of 3,000?
Yeah, it hit 3,000 for a few seconds, apparently, on some exchanges. So I mean, that just shows you the bright future. But again, there are many people out there who say they think it's going to be 5,000 next year or 10,000 in 2020. I try not to get people too excited about it. I think, if it's 2,600 now, that would be great if it's worth 5,000 in 2020. What?
Okay, let's stop right there. If it's worth 5,000 in 2020, well, we are in 2020 right now. Let's see what Bitcoin is as we speak. Let's see what the price is. Bitcoin is $5,497. It just refreshed. Okay, so now 5,500. So it's hovering between 5,495 and whatever. Okay, so there you go. So you talk about, oh, I wasn't showing you there. Okay, so there it is right there. There's the current price, 54.95. Okay, so Adam Meister was talking, and it was what, $2,600 then. Okay, and he was saying, oh, it'll be great if it's $5,000 in 2020. Well, now between then and now, it's gone all over the place. It got almost to $20,000. It was at $10,000. I bought some not too long ago, just under $10,000, because I didn't know that it was going to have this big pullback right now. Do I know all the pullbacks, ups and downs of Bitcoin? No, hell no. Nobody does. And I've said that many times on the channel. But long-term thinkers usually come out ahead on this deal. That's what the track record has been. And so I'm not nervous. I've added to my Bitcoin stash. I bought some more the other day on this recent dip. I'm going to probably buy some more next week. Even if it's 5,500 or so, I'll probably buy a few more at this price, because I think it's here's the thing about Bitcoin. In my opinion, there's two possibilities. One is it really takes off and it becomes pretty mainstream, in which case we'll be laughing at prices like this at $5,500 for one Bitcoin. You'll be like, oh my God, you can never buy one for that, right? It'll be ridiculous to even think that you could buy a Bitcoin for under $10,000. That's why I did that video about buying under $10,000, because I believe there will come a day in the future when the thought of buying Bitcoin under $10,000 will be ludicrous, okay? So that's one possibility. The other possibility is the whole thing fails and basically it becomes close to worthless. I don't know if it'll be worth $10 a Bitcoin or what, and so the thing totally fails. Every day that Bitcoin survives, that possibility becomes less and less. And every day that more and more people invest serious money into mining operations and other infrastructure and so forth for Bitcoin, which is happening all the time, big companies coming along and getting involved, the more all of that sort of thing happens, the less likely the scenario where it fails is a real scenario, and the scenario where it kind of takes off is a more likely scenario. So this is a risk asset with, in my opinion, potentially a very high upside. So that's why I have put a relatively small portion of my net worth into Bitcoin. Now, that portion of my net worth that's in Bitcoin has increased over time just because the Bitcoin has gone up quite a bit. Most of it that I've bought has gone up quite a bit. The few that I just bought recently, just under 10,000, obviously they're down at this point, right? But that's just a small portion of my Bitcoin. So the overall portion of my Bitcoin has gone up quite a bit. So my percentage of net worth that I have invested has increased over time just because the Bitcoin has outperformed everything else in my portfolio. Bitcoin, just to put it in perspective here, folks, Bitcoin is up more than 40% year over year. So if you take a year ago today to now, it's up something like 47%. Okay? So let's keep some perspective here on some of these things. Okay, so now let's go to, oh, and by the way, before we get on to the Patek, we're going to talk about the Patek. Personal responsibility, folks. It really burns me up when I hear things like the government is going to step in and give people paid leave, right? Because people might lose their job for a couple of weeks because of this virus thing. You know, a lot of businesses are struggling. Some businesses are probably going to go out of business, right? And the thought that the government has to step in because somebody didn't prepare, somebody didn't have 3 to 6 months of savings, what we call a rainy day fund in the old days. You know, you called it a rainy day fund. Well, this is what's called a rainy day. You're supposed to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in cash ready for a rainy day. Now, it just tells us something when you've got huge, probably, I think the latest number is 50% of Americans can't come up with $500 for an emergency expense. They're broke. They're living paycheck to paycheck. Whose fault is that? Okay, whose fault is that? Now, a lot of people that have a compromised immune system, a lot of them, that's their own doing as well. They're not practicing proper nutrition. They're not eating properly. They're not exercising the way they should. They're not taking care of themselves. And now they're at risk for serious complications from this virus. And I'm supposed to foot the bill for that, for their decisions? This is radical talk, isn't it? This is radical talk, that people assume some personal responsibility. That we rewind, and go back to the time of the greatest generation. You know, the greatest generation, my dad, when he was my age, or when he was younger than my age, let's say when my dad was 20 years old when he was in the Navy, or 18 years old or whatever he's in the Navy. I mean, they would laugh at the way everybody is handling this virus situation today. They would be like, they compared it, I heard somebody on the radio comparing it to World War II. This ain't World War II, folks. Not even close, okay? We've become a bunch of freaking pansies, if you ask me. So anyway, I'm going to get off the soapbox for now. And let's talk about competitive options for the 002. And before we get to that, let me show you the 002 again. For anybody that didn't watch part 1 of this broadcast, there's the 002 Stunner, okay? The 18-karat gold Grand Seiko Stunner, SBGY002, SBGY002, and that information is in the description of the video. So that's the watch that Steve is getting 2 of them in stock at Little Treasury. And one of them he's going to set aside with my name on it, and as soon as he gets it, or he's going to let me know, and I'm going to come by and see it, and if I like it, I'll probably leave with a lot less cash in my pocket and with a new stunner on my wrist, a new 18-karat gold stunner on my wrist. I don't buy anything until I see, touch, and feel it, right? See, I got to see it in person. Okay, so that's just to set up, that's what we're looking at, is that watch coming in. Now, for competitive options, a Patek Philippe has been discussed. So let me roll this video on this 5127. This is a stunner. Let me roll this video here.
Thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I would really appreciate it, and I promise to update daily. If you love this watch, you can see it and you can purchase it on our website, thewatchbox.com. Today, we discuss a bygone reference in perhaps its most essential form. In yellow gold, a Patek Philippe Calatrava 5127J stuns, but with full bracelet, you have a rare treat, perhaps the most appropriate gold for a Patek Philippe watch in the...
Now that is a stunner. I recommend you watch the full review, Tim, Watchbox Reviews, and watch that full video. But that is a stunner. I give it that. I like the lugs. I like the shape of the case. That's probably my favorite case design on a Calatrava. And that watch is 37 mils, so it's a decent size. It's a little, day date is 36 mils, just to give you a comparison. So it's a little bit bigger than a day date. And for a dress watch, I think that's a great size. I think that the, let me see if, where is the, I think I still have the, oh, I don't. Let me search, give give me a second. Let me pull up his video on the 002. Just give me a second. Let me switch back to the 005 real quick, and I'll pull this up. SBGY002. All right, here it is. So here's this
For 2019,
video again.
in
You
honor
guys
of the
have seen this
20th
before.
anniversary of the original 1999 manual wind spring drive caliber, this is the Grand Seiko Elegance Collection spring drive hand wound, part of a collection informally dubbed the Thin Dress series. So this 20th anniversary watch is graceful in yellow gold at 38.
Now, on his wrist, the Calatrava definitely looks better. This watch, in my opinion, looks a little bit big on his wrist. Okay, but he's got a small wrist. So I've got a 7.25 inch wrist. I think the Grand Seiko will be a good size on my wrist, because when I wear the 005, which is about the same size as the Grand Seiko Gold Stunner, the 005 is a very nice size for an all-arounder and for dress purposes. So I think that while the Calatrava is an excellent competitive option, my thought process is, if I was buying the Calatrava, if I wanted an all-arounder, if I wanted a watch to wear pretty much all the time, it'd be a no-brainer. The Calatrava with the gold bracelet would be the way to go. But if I want to watch strictly as a dress watch, which is what I'm considering now, then I think I give the definitely give the Grand Seiko the nod, because I really like that snowflake dial. I like the spring drive movement. I like that sweep of the second hand. I like everything about that watch. And of course, I haven't seen it in person yet, so once I see it in person, that's going to be the real tell. But I think that for my purposes, I think the Grand Seiko gets the nod. And they're both going to be about the same price. You can buy that Calatrava on the bracelet for around $25 on Chrono 24. So they're around the same price range. Okay. Okay, Kyle Jett, he should have come out. Okay, so I don't have any comments. So, what do you guys think? Let me refresh, make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, let's see. Craig, the average mean for Americans have 1 month savings. Most Americans don't even have retirement savings. Yeah, I think a lot of them don't even have 1 month. I heard that half of Americans basically are in debt, that they have no net worth at all. And see, here's the thing. I think this virus thing was the pinprick, was the needle that popped the bubble, but I think the real bubble is in the debt load. I think the amount of consumer debt out there and the amount of government debt and so forth as well. But consumer debt, I think, is the biggest, the 1,000-pound gorilla in the room, because 75% of our economy is consumer driven. If the consumer have too much debt load and they start slowing down on their spending, because they can only borrow so much, right? You can only put so much on credit cards. If they finally start slowing down on their spending, that's recession time. And that's the real 1,000-pound gorilla in the room. You cannot purchase that Calatrava new now. Yeah, absolutely, it would be a used purchase, absolutely. But you could get one in really nice shape, Carlos. I don't think you have to buy one new. You'd want to get one in really nice shape. But that's a very good point, because I do prefer, at my age and so forth, I'm a little more conservative on things. I do prefer to buy it from the AD with box and papers, with my name on the papers, and I'm just kind of to that point. Now, back in the day, I used to buy watches used often, but I don't really prefer doing that now. But that's a very good point, that we're kind of comparing apples to oranges. We're comparing a new watch to pre-owned watch. But like I say, if you bought a Calatrava in a really nice shape, I think you might be okay. You might be looking at a servicing at some point that's expensive. And that's the other thing. We've weighed the advantages and disadvantages of the Grand Seiko versus the Patek. Of course, one big advantage on the Grand Seiko is I probably wouldn't have to service that thing for the rest of my life. That spring drive is going to run flawlessly for decades. So I wouldn't have a big service expense like you're likely to have with the Calatrava, especially if you have to buy it used. So that's a thing. I love Grand Seiko and respect Patek. However, I cannot get past the gold color. Perhaps it is because it's not 1982 and I don't have enough chest hair. Hey, trust me, Leon, gold is the color for a dress watch. It's the way to go. I mean, look at this. Look at this DuPont pen. This is gold, right? And this would match the watch. It's very elegant, very elegant. Now you have to be well dressed. You know, you have to have the whole package, but 18 karat yellow gold is definitely the metal to have on a elegant dress watch. Absolutely. And you don't need the chest hair, although I do have the chest hair, but you don't need that to go with it. Hello to all. Peter in the house. Wonderful channel. Thinking between SBGY002, Aerospace EVO Gray. May I ask your opinion as well as other members about both? The 005, I believe, is the limited production with the, let me pull it up. Oh boy. Google's getting worse and worse on searches. Oh wait, no, what am I saying? What am I saying? The 005 is this watch. It's my watch. Yeah. I was thinking the 003 is the black dial, and I think it's the 001 is the limited production. See, senility. Senility hits us all. But yeah, the 005, I mean, I love the blue dial with the red with the red GMT hand. I mean, that's what I bought. So yeah, you're asking the wrong guy. If somebody's going to tell you, I'm definitely going to tell you to buy the 005. Craig, Lincoln Navigator versus Cadillac Escalade. Good question. I guess you're buying used. I would try to pony up the money and buy a Land Cruiser. Personally, I'd skip both and just buy a Land Cruiser. Yeah. What would be a good all-arounder GS spring drive 5K to 7K? Kevin's in the house. Well, I mean the Snowflake is marvelous. If the size is okay for you, Kevin, it's a 41 mil watch. It's not a small watch, but because it's titanium, just like this watch, it's super, super comfortable on wrist. I had one. It disappears on your wrist. It is amazing. For an all-arounder, wear all the time, heavy use watch, I think it's real hard to beat the Snowflake. Now there are other options. I think Steve has some of that new Seasons collection. I think 2 of them are titanium, I believe. Now I'm not 100% sure on that. I think 2 are spring drive and 2 are auto, but I get confused. But anyway, Snowflake is amazing as an all-arounder, and that's what you're talking about, an all-arounder. It is amazing. Now, if you are willing to consider the 9F movement, it's really hard to beat that 005 as an all-around stunner because it's nice and thin. You can use it as a dress watch. It's a little bit smaller than the Snowflake, which means that you can use it as a dress watch easier. Let us know what size your wrist is too, Kevin. That's going to play into this. Let's see, Peter C. I have SBG in 005. Really enjoy it. Yeah, and David has his 005. He has a leather strap that he deploys sometimes. Let me see if I can pull that up. Oh, by the way, before I do that search, there's the other 18 karat gold stunner I had, dress watch. Very elegant. Very elegant. We're going to pull up the picture of David's watch on the strap here in a second. Just give me a moment. I'll pull this puppy up. And let's pull up this picture of both of us side by side. This was taken at Steve's place, Little Treasury Jewelers, and you can see David with the strap and then mine with the bracelet. You can see it just gives it a whole different look, the strap. Pretty freaking cool. And that's the deployant. I believe that's the deployant clasp. So yeah. The 005 is extremely versatile. And of course it's got, and there it is on wrist again. Of course it has a screw down crown. And with the 9F, it's going to be there. I was playing around. I put it on the Gas Bones strap. Just playing around. There's it out in the sunlight. That blue catching the light. Just absolutely stunning. Stunning piece. You know, I did a show earlier about appreciating the watches that you have. I mean, we all have a wandering eye when it comes to watches, and some of us maybe even with women, but sometimes it's a good idea to appreciate what you have, right? So, David Williams, winter and spring are spring drive and titanium. There you go. I thought that was the case. Summer, autumn are high beat and stainless steel. So yeah, the winter and spring would be something to look at also, I think, if you like that case design. Why can't they make a spring drive in 36 mil? Kyle, there's one pretty close. I think there's one is there one that's 37, the smallest one? I'm not sure about that, but there's one getting pretty close to that. And they did supposedly come out with a new spring drive movement that is thinner. I don't know if it's smaller diameter-wise, but stay tuned. Maybe there will be some. Everybody's been asking for smaller watches out of Grand Seiko, and particularly thinner watches. T-Con in the house. T-Con, can I buy your SBGY002? T-Con. Everything's for sale. Everything's for sale. Make an offer. Box and papers. It's in pretty good shape. Now, I have used it. I wear it. I don't baby it. But it's in pretty good shape. The titanium holds up pretty good. If I sold this, then I would definitely have to use the 005 as an all-arounder until I get the 002. If I get the 002, then I could rotate the 005 with the 002. That'd be a pretty powerful rotation. But I'd hate to give up this baby. This baby has been like my go-to wear all the time. It's just so freaking comfortable on wrist. I mean, and it handles the heat. There's just something about the titanium. Let me give you a close-up. That's a lot of dust on it. Let me dust it off. Know if that got it or not. I mean, that is a stunner, folks. I mean, and let me tell you something. I owned steel Rolexes for years. I had rotation between a day-date and steel Rolexes for 40 years. Of that whole 40-year span, maybe 5 years of it or something, I was wearing my Omega. But for the most part, I was rotating a steel Rolex with a day-date. And let me tell you something. None of the steel Rolexes including GMT2s, which is what I wore most of the time, was my go-to was a GMT2. So one of them had a Jubilee bracelet, and one of them had the Oyster bracelet. I wore those, both of them, for years. None of them are as comfortable, or I think as attractive on wrist as this. This thing is just, I mean, look at it, folks. It's just freaking stunning. Okay, it makes a sub look ordinary. It just does. It makes a Submariner look freaking ordinary. People say, "Oh, well, the clasp is too bulky." This is like a Land Cruiser of watches. This is like designed to be like heavy use, like real. Talk about a freaking tool watch. I mean, that's what this is. Okay, and this clasp is all about function and getting the job done. See, I can so quickly and easily push this in one more notch. Now it's a little tighter, right? If I want to extend it, I just lift this up. Bam, look how much I just extended it, right? And then I can ratchet it in one click at a time and get it exactly where I want it. I can do all that on wrist, folks. See? Try to do that with a sub, folks. Ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen, not in this world. Okay, 005 is stainless steel. Absolutely. Yes, it is. It'd be pretty cool if they came out with the 005 in titanium. That would be cool. It's pretty comfortable on wrist, though. It's a good size. I think it's about 38.5 mils by about 12 mils thick. It's pretty comfortable on wrist as well. Not quite as comfortable as this, but very, very close, just because of the size of it. Because it's so flat on the wrist. Appreciate what you have is my friend's new policy with his pre-ceramic sea dweller. His Oyster Perpetual 39 delivery has been delayed for 2 months due to COVID. Oh my gosh, that's interesting. That the OP39 has been delayed. I would like the Oyster Perpetual 39 if you have a pretty good size wrist. That would be a good move. I like the Oyster Perpetual 36 too if you have a smaller wrist. But yeah, I hear you. I called Steve today and have decided on a Quartz GS, waiting for him to get it. Kyle in the house. Which one? Which one, Kyle? Which one? Please tell us which model. Oh, David says the same thing. Which one? Steve is great. I had an issue recently and is managing it greatly. Carlos. Good. Good, good, good. Absolutely. Steve is there for us. And he says he's going to soldier on through the virus. He's not letting the virus get him down. I've got my fingers crossed. I just hope the 002 shipment isn't delayed. He said the end of this month. It's the 13th. We're almost halfway through the month. I'm nervous that we're going to get a call, or that Steve's going to get a call and say, that it's been delayed or something. I hope that doesn't happen. But, this whole thing could put a monkey wrench in the whole thing. But I've got my fingers crossed, folks. Give me some, I don't want to say pray for me, because my gosh, it's just a watch, right? I mean, but pull for me that it's not delayed. Yeah, I'm happy about it, but I'm not sure when he will have it in stock. My local dealer is Beverly Hills GS, but there is no flexibility on pricing. What's the monthly accuracy difference between the 005 and the SBGY002? Okay, so my 005 is pretty much spot on. I mean, it's been within a second. When we had daylight savings time, it was still within a second. I didn't have to recalibrate it. I just moved the hour hand. So it was within a second after like 6 months. I mean, it's just like spot on. This one gains about 1 second a month. So after like 5 months, it'll be 5 seconds fast, which is fine. I like fast rather than slow. So this one is within 1 second a month, and the other one is pretty much just spot on, my 005. It's just insane. Yeah. these things perform much better than Grand Seiko's specs would suggest. Okay, so at least my experience, my experience has been that. And this might be one of the most accurate 231s out there. I mean, it's just super, super accurate. Let's see. Kyle says SBGX261. Let's pull it up. Let's pull this puppy up. Yeah, we've had this one up before on the screen. Let me just get it up here again. Oh, yeah, this is, oh, yeah, hell yeah. Yeah, we've talked about this. This is that like entry-level watch. This is really cool, really clean looking. I mean, that's a lifetime watch. That's a watch you can wear for your lifetime. Its thickness is only 10 mils, so it's very thin. It's a 37 mil watch, which is great. It's a little bit smaller than my watch. 10 mils thick. I mean, that is absolutely a stunner, you know, an entry-level stunner. I mean, that's a watch that won't, oh, I'm not showing it. Oh, jeez, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. That's a watch that will not ever need to be serviced. I mean, 50 years. I mean, you don't have to service that puppy. See, there's the size, 37 mils by 10. I mean, talk about a permanent, no hassle watch that you can wear all the freaking time. Yeah, that's it. Let's see. Let's see. Okay. I tried on the Snowflake and the SBGY002, and they were a bit large. Very nice, though. Yeah, I think going down a little bit, I get you. I kind of agree. That's one of the reasons why I sold my Snowflake is it was a little bit too big and a little bit too thick to use as a dress watch to fit underneath my tight cuffs. My cuffs tend to be kind of tight because my forearm is a little bit big for the size shirts that I buy. I got a little bit of Popeye forearms going on. And so you've seen on some of my French cuffs and all, they're pretty tight. And so I like a watch that's trimmer. And that's the benefit you get with the 9F is you get that really trim watch. Craig, if you found the gold stunner at a significant discount elsewhere, would you still buy from Little Treasury? He's going to give me a discount. I guarantee you he'll give me a decent discount. I guarantee you he will. So I doubt somebody would beat his price. And to answer your question, probably not, because the way I work is if he gives me a price that I can live with, that I feel comfortable with, and I buy the watch, I'm done. I don't then regret that I could have saved another $1,000 from somebody else or whatever, right? I mean, the deal is a deal and it's done, and if I'm comfortable with the deal, then I buy it and I move on. I'm not gonna dwell on it. Okay, so let's see here. The Dubai expat bought a new Submariner date 5 days ago at the airport in Dubai. Oh, cool. Cool. There you go. That's a watch you can wear all the time. That's a heavy use watch. Craig, we cannot see it. Yeah, I noticed that and I switched over to it. Sorry about that. If you're upset about 1 second, dude, 12 seconds a year for SBGY003, it's better than many quartz Casios. Yeah, this thing is just amazing. I mean, from the day I got it, it's been just freaking amazing. And that's why I'm so freaking spoiled that I just really can't go back to like that Patek. I mean, I would be like losing my mind. I can't go back to a typical mechanical watch now. I've just been totally spoiled. Totally spoiled by the spring drive and by the 9F. And that's why the 002 is so intriguing to me, because I'm going to have another spring drive. Another like dead accurate spring drive. That's going to be insane. Knock on wood. that I get it and that it gets here in time and all that good stuff. Let's see. Ordered it at my AD nearly a year ago and still not available. Then got it immediately at the duty-free shop. Cool. Cool. Now, are those still selling over list? Like, could you resell that and make a profit now, or is that kind of a thing of the past? Let me know in the chat what's going on with all that stuff. I don't even check daily accuracy. Who needs to be accurate to the second BS? I like a watch that's really accurate. I call into a lot of radio shows and do different other things that are very time sensitive. And I do like a watch that's very accurate, that I don't have to mess around with, that I don't have to reset all the time and all that kind of stuff. I just like the watch just to run and just to be, and again, I've gotten spoiled now that I really appreciate it. So, yeah. I assume Steve will do a super deal to Craig. Yes, I think he will. He's given me good deals on the other watches I bought from him. He's given me good deals. I think he's given some of my subscribers good deals that have bought from him. I think he treats people right. Sorry, I have difficulties to join the chat here in Denmark. Seiko is behaving rather Rolescious. If you don't know who you are, if you do not know who you are, it's your fault. If you want to buy a watch, see if you can find us. I'm not sure what that means. But Grand Seiko, I mean, they're different than Rolex in a lot of ways, not the least of which is they can't produce anywhere near as many watches as Rolex can. They're not a mass-produced watch. And so we're not going to see Grand Seiko doing anywhere near the sales that and of course, they're clueless when it comes to marketing anyway, so that's not going to happen anyhow. But the bottom line is they can't produce anywhere near the number of watches that Rolex produces. So it's really apples and oranges. Let's see here. See, this is getting a little bit tight. I'm going to loosen it just a hair, give myself a little bit of slack, just like that. On wrist, I just loosened it just a little bit, just like that. Try to do that with your sub. You're doing okay over in Denmark. Okay, hopefully he is. Okay. Let's see. 003 and 005 are the same watch, just different color, face, black and blue. Correct. They're basically the same watch. Now, the 24-hour hand, the GMT hand, on the 003 is orange, and on the 005 it's red. So the GMT hand is also a different color, as is the dial. Peter C. in the house. I as well enjoy the blue, yet is too dressy for all-around beater. All-arounder. The 231 is king compared to the Submariner as well. I wear the SBGY002 now, an older Grandy model. Let me pull that up. SBGY002. And by the way, folks, I'm having a lot of cancellations. I had a video shoot tomorrow that is canceled. Okay, let's see what this image. Oh, this is a good-looking watch. I can't. Let me see if I can try to get a decent image up on it here. It's a good-looking watch. See here. Give me a second, and I will show this. Okay. There's one up on the screen. That's a cool-looking watch. I like the red on the dial. That's cool. Cool. And it's got lume on the hands. Pretty cool. Pretty cool piece. If I do say, there's was the image search results. Pretty freaking cool. Let's see here. Excuse me. Craig, Are you no longer a fan of classic cars because they're slow, inefficient, and unreliable? Back in the day, there was a time when I actually drove a 1963 Chevy Impala, and it had factory air, and it was really cool. It literally had a cable underneath the dash. It had a thing you pulled on for the air conditioning to engage the air conditioning, and it was an actual cable that went, I guess, to the compressor and engaged it, right? Really cool. I had several of those. I liked the 63 Chevy. I had a black four-door hardtop that I sold to a friend of mine, and he had it until recently. He had it for many, many years. It was a black four-door hardtop. It had power seat, power windows, air conditioning, tilt. I mean, it was freaking loaded. And I bought it from a little old lady. It had like 50,000 miles on it. This was in like, I don't know, 1979, 1980, something like that. Drove that for a while. I had a burgundy four-door hardtop also. I had a convertible. I had a 1961 Chevy that was a two-door, and that had the kind of rounded rear roof on it. I drove a bunch of old Mercedes diesels, 300Ds. I drove a couple of 240Ds back in the day. I had a 300 SD turbo diesel. I had a 300 SEL with the 6.3 engine in it. Whoa, that thing would get down the road. I sold that, though, before it would give any trouble because those things are expensive to get fixed. But I had a bunch of classic cars. Vintage cars, whatever term you want to use. I had a E-Type Jaguar convertible briefly, and that was one that, I would like beg for it to start, right? I'd say, listen, I'll give you all the high-test fuel you want. Just freaking start, right? And sometimes I'd have to open up the trunk and tap on the electric fuel pump and get the freaking thing to go. But that was a blast. But no, these days I just like driving my Toyota Prius that's 100% reliable, that no issues, and I can put the Segway in the back, and I can carry what I need to carry in it. Camera gear and stuff like that all fits in the back. You'd be surprised how much I can fit in that thing. And then I can park it anywhere I want. Just super, super practical. And they're pretty quiet going down the road because they're so aerodynamic. So, yeah, I've become an old curmudgeon, and I like stuff that just work. So I don't play around with the old cars anymore. But I did back in the day. I had a lot of fun with them. Let's see here what else we got. Let's see. I see a lot of and the other problem with anything with carburetors, like the older motorcycles and stuff like that, they don't like to run on this fuel with the freaking corn in it, and you start having problems with the carburetor, and it's just a major pain in the what. And unless the car's fuel injected, you're just opening yourself up to issues with this fuel now with all the freaking corn in it. It's a freaking total joke. I see a lot of subs for sale overpriced that are not moving. I own a Hulk and looking to buy GMT Pepsi at list only. I definitely hold out and do not pay over list on any of those things because I think the market is going to come crashing down. I think we're getting close to panic selling time on all that stuff. The people that bought a whole bunch of them and are sitting on them as investments, I think you're going to start seeing some panic selling at some point, possibly. A couple of months ago, you could have sold a ceramic sub for $2 to $25K over list, but this pandemic crisis delivered a blow to the flippers market. There you go. Don't you think their newly released GS movements are too A-Lang inspired? I don't know about that. I'm not sure. I think I could sell it with around $550 profit in Dubai. Not sure about other countries. Supply is getting better. Yachtmaster, Explorer, or Two-Tone Sports you find at nearly every Rolex store now. Interesting information. Craig, what do you think of a pre-ceramic no-date sub and a 36 millimeter date just as a 2-watch rotation? Fantastic. That would be hard to beat. 36 mil Datejust is nice and trim. I think they're 11.7 mils thick, something like that. So plenty trim enough to use as a dress watch. And then, of course, the no date sub. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Pre-ceramic, it's going to have the nice lugs and everything. It's going to be a stunner. And yeah. Now, of course, you could wear the 36 mil Datejust as just an all-arounder and call it a day, too. You wouldn't really need the sub in rotation with that. Of course, none of us needs anything, right? Let's see. Carla said she sounds great. Battery life on the 9F005. I don't know yet. Supposedly 3 years. I haven't had mine 3 years, so I don't know yet. But I think you should be able to count on 3 years. Yeah. So I think count on every 3 years swapping that puppy out, and you'll be good to freaking go. And by the way, when mine finally gets to the point where it needs to be swapped out, I'm going to do a video with Steve about that, showing the whole process and everything, and showing if he like pressure tests it afterwards or what they do, you know, the whole process. I will definitely do a video on that if I'm still in the vertical. See, when you get older like me, you don't even buy green bananas, right? You don't plan that far ahead. Actually, I still plan far ahead. That's what's kind of wild, is I'm still a long-term thinker as old as I am. And it was funny, my dad, when he was interviewing, you saw it earlier in the show, when he was interviewing the Bitcoin Meister, Adam Meister, my dad was 90 years old when he was interviewing him. My dad's talking about long-term investing. I love it. I love somebody 90 still thinking long-term. My goodness, I hope when I'm 90, I can still be thinking long-term like him. And I just spoke to him today, by the way. He's still thinking long-term. He says, the market will turn around. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And now he's like 93. So there you go. What do you think about Zenith? Thinking about getting a Zenith El Primero Panda, or try my luck and somehow get a GMT Pepsi. Probably not easy, as I won't pay over retail. No, I wouldn't pay over retail. I'd wait. I'm not a fan of chronograph watches, personally. I don't like the busy dials. I don't use that function, and so to me, I wouldn't be interested in something with a chronograph. I wouldn't buy a Daytona, right? Back in the day, Daytonas didn't sell because they weren't popular. I mean, just because they're popular now doesn't mean it's a way to go. I think the GMT Pepsi is absolutely a stunner. I love the Jubilee. I had an all-black GMT with the Jubilee for years that I wore. Love that watch. I think that could be a one and done. I think you could sell everything else and just wear the GMT Pepsi for the rest of your freaking life. By the way, I saw the ZZ Top. You guys should watch the ZZ Top documentary on Netflix. One of the guys wears an all-gold GMT with a Jubilee. It is cool. You got to check that out. It's prominently featured in the documentary. It's on his wrist. An all gold GMT Master with a Jubilee bracelet. How cool is freaking that? Let's see here. I'm well, Carlos, thank you, but the whole country is shutting down. Nevertheless, it's always puts a smile to your face to look at your automatic. Craig, the 300 SL, it was an SEL, 6.3 was the Grand Seiko of that time. Well, yeah, but they require, I think, a little more maintenance and repair. One nice thing about that 6.3 was it did have mechanical fuel injection, so it would be relatively immune to an electromagnetic pulse, maybe. So there you go. Okay, Carlos, I hope it gets better soon. Okay. But I'll tell you what, that SEL with the 6.3, that thing would glue you to the seat. I mean, that thing would get up and crawl, no doubt. I also had, by the way, a 1968 a Mustang GT390, dark green with the stick on the floor. Basically, the car was in bullet. I basically had that car, and that thing was a blast to drive. I mean, it was a blast. I had a GT500 KR convertible Shelby, but we never got it running. I never drove it. It was in pretty rough shape when I bought it, and then we resold it. But I did drive the GT390 a fair amount, and that car was a blast. That thing would get up and go. You really bang those gears. It had that like long like Hurst shifter right, from the factory, right? It was pretty cool. 1968 GT390 coupe. Let's see. Carlos, if you please alert. Okay. Did you fly business or economy, Craig? Do you fly business or economy, Craig? I have flown very little since 9/11. I do not like going through all that. I do not like not being able to carry my pocket knife. I did fly to Moscow a couple times, and I just flew regular coach or whatever. But I generally don't like to fly at all, and I generally travel by private motor coach so that I can carry all my camera gear and all my stuff with me. So if I'm traveling like down to Florida or whatever, I always traveled in a private coach. So yeah, that's how I prefer to get around. Whoops. Uh-oh. Stand by. We're falling apart here. There we go. My light controller, my Lutron light controller fell off the desk here. And by the way, I'm between coaches now. I sold my Bluebird Wander Lodge, and now I'm thinking about buying a Prevost. Some people say Prevost, but they're Prevost. Either a Liberty, or a Marathon. But the Liberties, most of the Liberties have the over-the-road air conditioning, which I really want. I want the Prevost over-the-road air conditioning, bus air, they call it. So I'm leaning towards a Liberty. Let me pull one up real quick, see if I can go to Prevost stuff real quick and pull one up. There was one on there that I was looking at the other day. See, this could be a good time to buy something like this too when everybody's in a state of panic. See, everybody sells everything. They panic sell, right? They liquidate everything. And so sometimes this is a good time to be a buyer. Give me a second here. I'm going to try to pull this up real quick. You can find these on Prevost-stuff.com. You can find some nice coaches. Let me pull one up here. Give me a moment here. There's a Royal. I'll let you see what I'm looking at. There's a Royal. There's a Country Coach. There's a Liberty 1996. Nah, I don't want to go quite. I'd rather not go quite that old. There's a 97. There's a Marathon 98. There's a 96 Liberty. Wow. Thought there was one like up around a year 2000. 2000 was when they got rid of the rivets. There's some advantages to having the ones with the rivets. They're a little bit easier to fix. So here's a 2001 Liberty let's look at this real quick. Let's look at this one. Interesting. I wonder if that's a garage back there that it can go into completely. Because I wouldn't buy one if it wasn't garage kept, by the way. And I do not want to slide out anyway. So this is a non-slide, which is good. Now let's see if this puppy has the over-the-road air conditioning. It probably does because it's a Liberty. So this would be a possibility right here. This would be a possibility. And yes, they all look like brothels inside, but it is what it is. Decent bedroom. Let's see if they show the engine compartment. Because if it's got the huge AC compressor on it, then you know it's got the bus air conditioning. That's it. That's the compressor there. You can see behind that, you see the gray thing there? That's, I believe, the compressor. So let's keep going. You'll see another view of it. See it there on the right of the engine? That huge AC compressor? That denotes the over-the-road air conditioning. And that is huge. That is a big deal. Because if you got one of those coaches, you can literally be going across the freaking desert, and that over-the-road air conditioning will keep that coach nice and cool. It's designed to keep the coach cool in all circumstances, even with like 50 or 60 people in it. 50 people or whatever in the coach, right? So there, it's like overdone for a coach like that. And it really keeps that puppy cool. Okay, so let's get back to the comments here. Don't disclose that you owned a Steve McQueen Mustang, Craig. You'll emotionally trigger those crossover driving safe Queen investment Rolex owners. Yeah. The 6.3 was the fastest four-door sedan of its time. You surely are a man of experience. There we go. Okay. Safety deposit box Queen. Since Bitcoin is down 40%, do you suggest to buy 5,000 to 6,000? I don't give financial advice, but if I was a no-coiner, if I didn't have any Bitcoin, I would own a Bitcoin right now. No doubt about it. Now, I already own quite a few, so I'm not pressed, but I am still going to be probably buying some more next week. These prices, in my opinion, these are bargain basement sale prices. And yeah, I'm probably going to accumulate some more, and I don't even need it. Of course, do we need anything? But I'm a little bit greedy. I want to have more. So yeah, I think that, and now it could go quite a bit lower. I mean, it could go. I told a friend of mine the other day, I said, my back the truck up and load up number is $1,250. If Bitcoin gets down to $1,250, I will be buying like freaking crazy. I will be backing the truck up and loading up. But I don't think it's going to get down that low. But the other day, you know, it was down to 36 something or 3,600 and something. And a buddy of mine, actually Adam Meister, tweeted that he bought one. And he's got a bunch. He didn't need one either, but he went ahead and bought just one single Bitcoin at that price. Yeah, I mean, that's some bottom fishing. I think that's a good move. But again, not financial advice. I think Jim Morrison owned a Shelby Mustang as well. There you go. I just dropped 5,000 on AAL for 13.81 a share. Was that a good, bad idea? We'll see. Time will tell. As long as you got a strong hand and you can hold on, you'll see what happens. I don't know if we've seen the bottom yet. There are people that are saying we've seen the bottom, that the worst is over. Time will tell the tale on that. I'm not so sure about that. Just because we went up today, I mean, it doesn't mean there couldn't be some more bad news and we could have another sell-off. I mean, but yeah, I mean, there are people that are buying in. Absolutely, there are people that are buying in that think the worst is over. So yeah, you do not need a house with that. Carla says, Craig, what do you think about a certain suburban Brisbane resident saying that now is a horrible time to buy watches you want because they're being heavily discounted. Now is a horrible time to buy. Well, I mean, my position on buying luxury items of any type, whether it be a watch, a suit, a nice pair of shoes, any luxury item, is you buy that with disposable income. You buy that with extra money that you don't need for any other purpose. And you do that assuming that you've paid off all your other debts, you have no debts whatsoever, no mortgage, no nothing. You have plenty of money set aside for emergencies. You have plenty of money invested. You're financially sound. And that's when you buy luxury items like beautiful watches. And that's when you spend money on, beautiful girls, right? Any kind of luxury, right? That's the way I look at it. But I'm kind of weird. So there you go. I was looking forward to drive our convertible Mini in San Diego. I hear you. I don't know if you have already talked about the news from Seiko, like the updated spring drive and new titanium diver. We talked a little bit about the spring drive, and no, I haven't really talked that much about the titanium diver. It's pretty amazing. If it's the one I'm thinking about that you're talking about, it's that 600 meter. That's a pretty substantial watch. I think you'd want to have a pretty good size wrist to don that. This one here is big enough for me, and that one is bigger even than this and thicker. So yeah, I would stick with the 231 myself. If I was, but if you want something really heavy duty, yeah, that would be that. San Diego's been getting a lot of rain. It's raining pretty bad here in Los Angeles. Oh, okay, interesting. Occasionally you get that rain, huh? Is this normally the rainy season? When is normally the rainy season there? I get confused. All right, so once again, we've gone for an hour. I think we might have solved all the world's problems. What do you all think? Let me switch back here real quick and see. You do another quick search on on my photos here, and Craig old. Let's see if I can pull up an old photo or two real quick here, just for fun. Just for fun, we'll pick up some old photos here. Craig, old photos. There we go. All right, and so here we go. Here's that was my book years ago, The Best of Everything by CraigShipp, and that young lady was helping me promote it. A little young lady, a little model there. And this is a photo of a photo. That dates from probably around the year 2000 or so. And some VIPs. Tara, the lovely Tara. There she is. And I don't think you could see her watch there. She had a, no, you can't see it in that. She had a lady date. A lady date. And there was my green Harley. FLH-TCUI, that's an ultra classic. Jennifer, the lovely Jennifer. And there was a 66 Cadillac. Fleetwood Brougham, and that was my 8000X Motorola cell phone in hand. Lovely Jennifer again. Lovely Jennifer. Lovely Jennifer. Lovely Jennifer. And there I probably had the GMT with the oyster bracelet on in that picture, and some featherweight boots that were kangaroo leather. Still have them. There's John Harder. He did a lot of road test reviews and things like that. That was out at the Potomac Polo Club. There's John with my Series 3 Land Rover. He got it stuck, halfway stuck in a bunch of mud, and he's saying, "Who, me?" There it is at the cabin. We were testing the strength of the deck. We had the Series 3 and then the Range Rover behind it. There's the Series 3 again. Again, there it is pulling a trailer. We're out at my buddy's place, out at the beach, out at Ocean City, Maryland, out at Ocean Pines North. We're out at his place. There we are at the Polo Club. You can barely see it, but that's a date with a conventional class bracelet on my wrist there. And the limousine there, Lincoln limousine. There I am. And there I am also with a date with a few rolls and a couple of Princess limousines, and then of course the 8000X Motorola. And there's the lovely Tara. There she is. She's wearing the date just in that picture, lady date. I'm taking a picture of her with my Nikon F3 high eye point, and wearing a safari jacket from Willis & Geiger. And there's John Harder next to me. There's the Rolex in the foreground, and of course Ray-Bans with the sweatband. Had a bunch of pairs of Ray-Bans. And there I am with a Rolex GMT with the oyster bracelet, with the jet boat, with the 454 Chevy. There I am. That's my cousin. He had a Submariner on. A Sea Dweller on. And there's the Cadillac limousine that we used to pull the jet boat. And that's out at my buddy's place out at Ocean Pines North. And there we are, out on the river, I think, in the jet boat. And there I wore Wayfarers because they don't blow off your head when you turn around. They don't blow off as easy. I lost a couple of pair of Ray-Bans and learned the hard way. And then I put straps around them after that. There's Tina and, what was the other one's name? Tina and Leslie, yeah, Leslie. Tina again. And there's a Rolex. I think that was the GMT2 with the oyster bracelet. BMW R80 GS, 1984, that I bought new and did a little traveling on. And there's Sylvester Stallone. He was out at the Polo Club, Potomac Polo Club. Took a few pictures of him out there. There's the R100 RT BMW with the GS next to it. And there's an old XL 500 Honda. That's a real old photo. That was taken in probably 1976, 77, somewhere like that. And there I am wearing the GMT2 with the all black with the Jubilee. And that was a business I had, advertising directories in hotels called Dial-A-Service, where you could call like restaurants and things like that. We made those custom displays to put in hotels, and we sold advertising on. First electric car dealership in the country, 1980. Had that with a partner of mine. Had electric cars, then we had classic cars. There's the 69 Cadillac Eldorado that had 23,000 miles on it that I bought. It was 10 years old. It had 23,000 miles on it. I drove it out to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and auctioned it. Paid $3,000, sold it for $5,600 out there at Tulsa. Beautiful car. There it is again. Eldorado. There's the Eldorado Brome. Was it a 1956? What year was that? Darn, I can't remember now. Eldorado Brome with the suicide doors. It had the stainless steel top. Very limited production car. It had mouton carpets. Pretty cool car. Air suspension. There's the 1965 Fleetwood with low number Virginia tag. Drove that for a while. Super comfortable car. 350 Honda. Trans Am 1979. And by the way, in the back there, in the background, you can see a Chrysler 300 convertible. See that maroon car in the background? That was a Chrysler 300 convertible loaded to the gills with dual power seats. Loaded, loaded, loaded. There's a Ram Charger in a big snowstorm we had, I think in 1979. That was a demo that I had from the Dodge dealer that I was working at the time. There's a Lincoln up on the snowbank, 4 feet in the air up on that snowbank. I had no idea how the thing even got up on there. And that's a Dodge Magnum that in the foreground that you can barely see the top. That had the 400 heavy duty. It had every option. There it is. There's a picture of it. That was loaded with every freaking option. I ordered it for the owner of the dealership, and he used it as a demo for a short period of time, and then I got it and drove it, and it was loaded, loaded, loaded. 1979, I want to say. Magnum, 78, 79, brand new. Black Hawk 357 Magnum, Ruger. Imperial LeBaron. That was rumored to be owned originally by Jackie Kennedy. It was a 1964 Imperial LeBaron loaded. It had dual air conditioning. That was a fun car to drive around. 1978 Silver Anniversary Corvette that I bought new from Stevens Chevrolet, Dick Stevens Chevrolet in Wheaton, Maryland. And then I drove it out to California and sold it because it was an L82 4-speed that you couldn't get in California. So I drove it out there and sold it for $5,000 over list to Art Uline, who was a doctor for NBC. And he was happy to get it because, by the way, I had to retitle it. I had to go out there and pretend like I was moving there. I had to live in his place in Malibu for a couple weeks and then retitle it in California and sell it to him as a used car. That's how we got it into California. There I am buffing the Imperial. I think that was the Imperial convertible. I had a 64 Imperial convertible as well, and then I had a 63 which was the different body style, Imperial. And I was buffing it. There I am in Scottsdale, Arizona. We got caught in a snowstorm up on the mountain there in the Silver Anniversary Corvette. So there you go. Last photo I took on my way to Los Angeles because I put a new roll of film in the camera, 36-shot roll of film, and all the pictures I took in Los Angeles, I wasn't advancing the film when I was advancing. I hadn't loaded it properly, and I thought I was advancing the film, but I wasn't. So none of the pictures from Los Angeles survived. So that's it. That was the last picture on my trip out to California to sell that thing. Chopper. There's a Shelby. That was a GT350 convertible. And that one ran and drove fine. And so, yeah, we had several Shelbys, but that one was a GT350. I think that's a 1968. I'm pretty sure it was a 68 or 67, but I think it was a 68. There I am in California. That was one of the last photos on that same trip. And there we were getting ready to leave with the anniversary Corvette. And that's a Packard in the background, a pretty rough Packard in the background there. There I am horseback out at my uncle's farm. There I am. I was really little there, out at my uncle's farm in Missouri. And the Forest Theater with a couple of showgirls. Getting a little bit of air on the XL 500. There I'm with my niece. There I am with the Rolex Date 8. Because, oh, well, you never really wore a Rolex Date 8. You're just talking. You're just a poser. Yeah, okay, all right, whatever you say. Whatever you say. There it is, Date 8 on the wrist there. All right, that's enough. That's enough of a trip down memory lane. Let me just check the comments here, and then we'll get caught up, and then I'm out of here. Let's see, it's rainy. I already read that. I've been wondering, but now I must ask, what is the old green pole in the background between the two lamps that comes and goes? What is the old green pole? Oh, no, that's just a light. That's just a light that's lighting up and then goes in and out. It's just a light. It's a light running up the side of a screen, a Chinese screen. Rainy season in Southern California is winter, okay? I was looking forward to drive on Mulholland and Crest Highway too. There you go. If you had to sell all your watches, which only one would you keep? See, I don't have that many watches right now. I only have this one and the 005, the 005 Stunner, and the Apple Watch. That's all I have right now. So no, if I had to sell one of these, I don't know which one I'd sell. I guess I'd almost have to sell this because then I'd have an all-arounder. But, well, I guess I could sell the 005 and rotate this with the Apple Watch. I could wear the Apple Watch as a dress watch. It's trim. It works as a dress watch. So if push comes to shove, then I could sell the 005, I guess. I don't think I'd want to sell either one, though. Now I'm thinking about getting the 002, so the plot thickens. Let's see here. LA is such a fun city. Craig, are you familiar with Motor Week? I believe they broadcast out of Southern Maryland. Yes. I have watched some of their things, some of their shows. I am familiar with them. One of the guys had a repair shop in Prince George's County, Pat Goss. He's kind of a jerk, though. I met him, and as a matter of fact, years ago, he hired me to do a website, and he didn't pay. He stiffed me. So yeah, he's kind of a jerk, Pat Goss. But other than that, it's all good. Let's see. Nice boat, Carlos says. Well, hey, it's nice until you blow the engine in it, and then yeah. Boat is definitely a hole in the water into which you insert money. But the girls loved it, so that's fine. And let me guess, Craig, neither you nor any of the guys ever considered a Tudor a worthy alternative. A Tudor? Are you freaking kidding me? Oh, jeez. Oh, boy. Oh, man, a Tudor. Are you freaking kidding? Yeah, that would be a no. No, we'd pass on the Tudors. We pass on altcoins, and we pass on the Tudor. Did you ask the police officer for the photo? Did you ask the police officer for the photo? Question mark. I don't know which photo. I don't remember which photo he's talking about there. Cheetown, he often said that he doesn't. I actually like a lot of the Tudors. Yeah, I would pass on the Tudors. I don't think there's any reason to buy a Tudor. I think there's a lot of Rolexes you can buy for affordable money, like older Datejusts or something like that I'd much rather have than a Tudor. Cheetown, on this channel, we just hate one watch of all in the world. Craig, thank you so much for this amazing tour of cars. Stig in the house. Have a great weekend, everyone. Okay, yeah, I wish I had more photos from back in the day, but as you know, back then there were no such thing as digital cameras, no such thing as phones with cameras, and so I just didn't take that many photos. And especially photos with me in them. There were very few. My sister, like when we go through the old family photos, like Laura, my older sister, I mean, she was gorgeous. I mean, she still is. And, of course, there were always a lot of photos of her, right? But not that many photos of Craig. So there you go. Photographers always like taking photos of the beautiful females and not so much of Craig. Oh, woe is me. What do you think about all the precious metals crashing in price? I think what happens in a panic sell-off like this, and we talked about this yesterday, is everybody just sells everything. they're in a state of panic, literally, and they're just selling anything that they can sell. And I mean, bottom feeders, people with cash, they love it. They love when everybody panic sells because they get some good buys. So yeah, and it turned out that there was a lot of panic selling in Bitcoin, right? And in gold and basically in everything. I don't know if there's starting to be panic selling in real estate or not. I don't know if that started happening yet, but generally people can end up selling all kinds of assets and panic sell. So the old saying, cash is king, right, is always true. I mean, it's like cash is where you want to be in a panic situation like this because you can get some buys. In other words, there is no safe haven asset. You can't put your money anywhere. You put it in gold, you lose. You put it in stocks, you lose. You put it in Bitcoin, you lose. When people are panic selling, everything goes down. So the best position to be in is a cash position so that then you can buy things at a bargain. So yeah, I do like the Pelagos, but that is the only tutor I like. Carlos, I like the P01. Okay. Have a great weekend. Drink plenty of H2O and keep washing your hands. Yeah. Let's see. Did you get pulled over in your last Cali photo and ask the cop to take a pic? LOL. That was good. I can see that. Okay. Yeah, back in the day, nobody had phones with cameras on them or anything, right? We didn't have any of that. Let's see. Yes, that was a joke. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Blue Shirt Buddha popping in late. We're getting ready to wrap up. Blue Shirt Buddha. Sorry about that. Carlos in the house with a wrench. He says hello to Blue Shirt Buddha. All right, we're going to wrap it up. And I appreciate everybody calling. I mean, everybody engaging, I guess the term we should use. Do pull for me, man. Hope that my 002 order doesn't get canceled. That Steve gets it in. He's supposed to get it in, quote, the end of the month. You heard him yesterday on yesterday's show. He came in. He said the end of the month. So we've only got about 2 more weeks left. It's the 13th. We're halfway through the month. So when he says the end of the month, I don't know if he means the absolute end. If he means March 31st, are there 31 days in March? How many days are in March, folks? I forget. March 31st. I think there's 31. So I wonder if he means the 31st. Let's see what the date is. Where's a calendar? Well, let me pull up a calendar and see what day the 31st falls on. Calendar. All right. Here is, okay. So the 31st is a Tuesday. So let's say worst case scenario, it's literally the last day of the month. That's a Tuesday. That's okay. He'll be open for business. I'll be able to go. I've got schedule flexibility. So I'll be able to go on a Tuesday on the 31st, and we'll see what happens. And we might do a live stream from there too, by the way, folks. He said yesterday that would be a good idea. So let's keep our fingers crossed that does not get delayed, that he doesn't hear from Grand Seiko, hey, sorry, but that 002 is going to be a little bit delayed. Let's hope we don't hear that. So I will keep you posted. As soon as I hear anything, you will be the first to know, and we will see what we shall see. So let me pull up the Video Pro on video on here so that I can terminate this broadcast. And yes, everybody be safe out there. Eat well, exercise, get plenty of rest. Just do the things that you should be doing all the time, and it will help a lot to stave off any virus that attacks you. So here we go. I'm going to terminate this broadcast. Switch over to the 005 real quick for another one last time check. And we're going to complete this event. Thanks again. Hey, click likes, comments, shares, do all those things. Click the little bell so that you get notifications. And please click like when others do videos on my channel. If Rachel does a video or Steve does a video, give them a like, okay? Maybe even give them a nice